On a sweltering night in Las Vegas, the air crackled with excitement as the doors swung open to the International Hotel. Step inside, and you were greeted by a sight that would make your head spin. The walls were adorned with dolls that looked more like they belonged in a macabre museum than a hotel lobby. And hanging from the ceiling were little figures that looked like they could whisper secrets to the sleeping guests. This was no ordinary place. It was the home of a spectacle, the International Hotel, and the man who ruled its stage was none other than Elvis Presley. Elvis stepped onto the stage with a wink and a nod, his voice cutting through the buzz like a hot knife through butter. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," he said, his words a promise of the wild ride that was about to begin. He wasn't just another performer, he was a force of nature, a whirlwind of energy and charisma. The crowd, a mix of Vegas regulars and curious newcomers, was on the edge of their seats. They were about to witness something special, something that would make them question what they thought they knew about the king himself. Elvis had a way of making everyone feel like they were part of his story. As he talked about his rise to fame, he wasn't just recounting facts, he was painting a picture with jokes and laughter. People in New York were talking, their mouths full of excitement, saying, get him, he's hot and he's from out of nowhere." They were referring to the buzz around Elvis, who was about to take the stage in a way that would leave everyone breathless. He reminisced about his early days, when he sang to a basset hound on the Steve Allen Show. The story was simple: the dog is peeing and I didn't know it, but the magic happened on stage. Elvis's performances were electrifying. His energy was off the charts, his flair for drama unmatched. He wasn't just singing, he was living the songs, moving with an intensity that left the audience in awe. Priscilla, who knew him intimately, wrote about how he exuded a raw masculinity, a pride that was almost animal-like. To watch him on stage was to witness a tiger pacing, unpredictable and powerful. The night of his opening show at the International, the atmosphere was electric. The crowd was thunderstruck by Elvis's presence. Everyone who saw him perform reported the same thing: he was unbelievable, a whirlwind of soul and showmanship. His performances were not just concerts, they were experiences. He moved with a grace and athleticism that left many wondering if this was the same man who had once sat in a small room with a guitar. After the show, a moment that would be etched in memory: Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, was seen with tears in his eyes, hugging his charge. It was a rare moment of vulnerability from the usually secretive Colonel. Elvis, in front of the press, spoke of his longing to perform again, a desire that had been building since 1965. He said, "It's been building up inside of me, and I just couldn't take it anymore." It was clear that this return to the stage was more than just a job, it was a necessity. The 4-week run at the International was a triumph. It broke records, grossing a staggering $1.5 million. The success was so overwhelming that it led to an agreement for Elvis to perform 2 4-week stints every year in Las Vegas. It was a deal that would change the landscape of entertainment forever. Backstage at the Comeback Special, a TV show that showcased Elvis's gospel side, the atmosphere was intimate. Elvis and the Blossoms, a trio of black gospel singers, created a sound that was both powerful and moving. They sang hymns like "Where Could I Go But to the Lord" and "Up Above My Head," their voices blending in perfect harmony. Elvis took the gospel sound, already rich and soulful, and amplified it for a Vegas audience. The connection was palpable, a spiritual bond that went beyond the stage. After the show, Elvis would often host guests in his suite, singing late into the night with the Imperials, a white gospel quartet. These sessions were a blend of church music and personal camaraderie. Elvis had always sung in various settings: church, home, and now, in the glamorous suites of Las Vegas. It was a continuation of a lifelong passion, a way to connect with others through music. As his stage act evolved, so did his image. Gone were the days of the innocent kid with a guitar. Elvis emerged as Elvis the King, a larger-than-life figure. His costumes became more elaborate, reflecting his confidence and success. Inspired by his childhood hero, Captain Marvel, he donned a gem-studded jumpsuit and a bejeweled cape, a true embodiment of his own mythology. On June 10, 1972, at Madison Square Garden, Elvis reached the pinnacle of his live performances. The show was a spectacle, with an orchestra and multiple vocal groups backing him. It began with the ominous tones of Also Sprach Zarathustra, and Elvis made his entrance like a modern-day king. His performance was a blend of power and sincerity, with songs like That's All Right and American Trilogy showcasing his versatility. The New Yorker praised his professionalism, while the New York Times drew comparisons to sports legends, calling him a champion in his own right. By 1973, Elvis's influence extended beyond the stage. His televised concert, Aloha from Hawaii, reached an estimated 1.5 billion people via satellite, making him a global icon. In his performance, he became a godlike figure, spreading his American eagle cape wide, a symbol of his boundless spirit. Despite the success, Elvis's connection to Las Vegas remained complex. For him, the city represented the thrill and excitement of his youth, a place for freedom and artifice. But Vegas was also a city of high stakes, and Elvis, despite his fame, was still drawn to its allure, even if it was more about the experience than the gambling itself. Elvis's performances, both on stage and in the studio, were marked by a raw energy and a deep emotional connection to his music. He was unapologetic about his choices, refusing to record songs that didn't resonate with him. His soul ballads and revamped classics showed his growth as an artist, but it was his live performances that truly captured the hearts of his audience. As Elvis continued to dazzle, the line between his public persona and private self remained blurred. Las Vegas, with its glitter and glamour, was a reflection of his own desires, innocence, excitement, and a world of possibilities. But it was also a reminder that, no matter the success, some things remained unchanged, like the boy from Tupelo who had always found solace in music. In late 1970, Elvis Presley found himself at a crossroads, both personally and professionally. Though his career was thriving, with sold-out shows in Las Vegas and a renewed energy on stage, his personal life was fraught with challenges. As a newlywed and father to baby Lisa Marie, Elvis felt the weight of responsibility. Yet the turmoil of the world around him, assassinations, protests, and a growing distrust in authority, unsettled him deeply. The violence of the Charles Manson murders and the constant threat of violence in Las Vegas added to his anxiety. He felt the need to protect himself and those he cared about, which led him down a path of obsession with guns and law enforcement. Elvis had always admired authority figures, partly because of his mother's constant worry about his safety. After becoming an honorary policeman, he indulged in fantasies of being a federal agent, even forming friendships with local police officers and collecting their badges. His fascination with fighting drug use intensified, driven by the fear that it was infiltrating the music scene. This concern culminated in his desire to get a badge from the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs so he could officially fight the drug culture he saw as a threat. Meanwhile, back home in Memphis, Elvis's marriage to Priscilla was unraveling. Priscilla watched as Elvis's bachelor habits from his earlier days resurfaced, fueled by his demanding work schedule and extreme behaviors. His obsessions, pill use, and infidelities were becoming hard for her to handle. Along with Elvis's father, Vernon, Priscilla confronted him about his spending sprees, which included buying expensive gifts for friends and family without regard for their financial stability. Elvis felt overwhelmed and eventually decided to leave home, disappearing for the first time since 1956. On this solo journey, Elvis first headed to Washington, D.C., with the intention of visiting a woman he was having an affair with. However, after losing her phone number, he flew to Dallas instead. There, he reached out to one of his associates, Jerry Schilling, to meet him in Los Angeles. It was during this trip that Elvis had the idea to write to President Richard Nixon. In a letter, he requested to be appointed as a federal agent at large and offered his help in the war on drugs, believing that young people looked up to him and would respect his stance. Elvis's request was unexpected, but it aligned with Nixon's desire to connect with the public, especially the youth. Nixon's team quickly saw the potential to use Elvis as a symbol to appeal to millions of fans. With little hesitation, they arranged for Elvis to meet with Nixon at the White House. On the day of the meeting, Elvis arrived at the White House in his signature style, flashy and flamboyant. Dressed in a purple velvet tunic, white shirt, and an impressive military-style jacket, he was unmistakable. Initially speechless, Nixon was gradually drawn into Elvis's charm. Elvis, sensing an opportunity, launched into a passionate speech about his roots and his desire to give back to the country that had given him so much. He even took a moment to warn Nixon about the Beatles, calling them anti-American, a statement that caught Nixon off guard. Despite his initial bewilderment, Nixon found Elvis's sincerity and charm hard to resist. The meeting ended with Nixon expressing his willingness to consider Elvis's offer to help with the anti-drug campaign. As Elvis left the Oval Office, he had achieved something he likely never imagined, a private audience with the President of the United States, all driven by his desire to fight drug use and prove himself as a force for good. This unexpected encounter highlighted the complexities of Elvis's life at the time. On one hand, he was a superstar with unparalleled influence, yet he struggled with personal issues and a sense of purpose beyond the stage. His meeting with Nixon was a unique moment where two very different worlds collided, each finding something of value in the other. Elvis Presley's journey took a strange turn as he delved deeper into the worlds of politics and law enforcement. He believed that by connecting with President Nixon, he could make a difference, using his fame to reach young people. It all started when he asked Nixon for a special badge that would let him carry prescription drugs legally and possess a gun. Nixon, caught off guard by Elvis's charm, gave in and even gave him a badge that made Elvis overjoyed to the point of hugging the president. This badge became a symbol of Elvis's newfound power, even if it was more for show. Soon after, Elvis brought his friends Sonny West and Jerry Schilling to meet Nixon too. Elvis felt invincible with this new connection, rummaging through Nixon's desk for more souvenirs, even though he was told to be careful since Nixon had a family. Elvis gave Nixon some pins instead, showing a mix of respect and self-interest. With his new badge, Elvis felt like a superhero, walking around with a collection of law enforcement badges. He started acting like a police officer, even speeding people up for minor infractions. In Washington, D.C., he stopped at an accident scene to help, which amazed both a cop and a woman who was hurt. Elvis enjoyed playing the role of a hero, posing for pictures and enjoying the attention. Back home, Elvis's behavior became more erratic. He had more guns and dressed in flashy outfits, like those of a private eye from old movies. He even tried to break up a fight at a gas station using karate, which shocked and amazed the people involved. His actions showed that he was losing touch with reality, influenced by his drugs and his inflated sense of self-importance. Elvis's wedding to Priscilla was a big event. He insisted on taking everyone to his home, Graceland, and even the newlyweds to a movie at night. He loved being the center of attention, which was a big change from the humble boy everyone remembered. Experts say Elvis's change in behavior wasn't just because of his drugs, it was also about his upbringing. He grew up wanting everything he saw in comics and movies to be his own reality. He didn't see a gap between his love for superheroes and his desire to be a real-life hero. This mix made him proud but also insecure, especially when he received an award as one of the outstanding young men in America. He celebrated by inviting everyone to Graceland and throwing a big dinner, showing off his trophy that he cherished deeply. In the end, Elvis's quest for recognition and power led him down a path that confused and worried those who knew him best. His desire to be a hero, combined with his struggles with medication, painted a complex picture of a man who was both beloved and troubled. His story reminds us of the fine line between ambition and delusion, and how sometimes even the brightest stars can lose their way.